Exactly. So if you're going towards the north, the data changes as you're moving up to the north, and then strange things that begin to happen. In quotes. But however,
And these are sizable books. They are minimum 200 pages. You can download them absolutely for free by simply going to, for example, this one, you just go to getmymarriageback.com, smartrealestatewholesaling.com, realestatemoneysecrets.com. So yes, I am a 3 times author, and those books are out there for your consumption, and they are also available everywhere on Amazon, anywhere that you pick up books. So in case you prefer a physical book like that, and you cannot do that and engage your power at the same time. You have to choose one between the two. You see what I'm saying? So, and I think that's the ongoing conversation. While we don't want to become a doormat for any group of people, including women, we also don't want to disengage from our power. Because if your power is given to you, it's not really power. Power is taken. Power is taken. So that's something that we need to keep paying attention. So when I pick up this, like what we're saying right now, somebody can take any word I say and take it completely out of context, right? But I'm okay with it. I have zero expectations to anybody that stopped by for 1 second and want to leave. Like they can turn around and take my clip and do whatever they want with it. I have zero expectation, and it's easier said than done. There's a certain level of work you have to do on yourself to completely disengage from how people feel about you. We all care about how people feel about us, all of us. You know, to more extent that we would like to admit. Sometimes we say I don't care, but actually that tells me that you care. Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't need to say. You wouldn't know that something is happening. But we all do care to a certain extent, but we need to disengage from. It's a striking balance that we always need to maintain. While we care, we also don't want to care. We want to also be aware that, hey, I can't be seeking validation, you know. So that's the lesson there. So there's nothing wrong with starting the conversation, but it's always best to ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions. Is it me, or it seems like there's a lot of men that are going into the divorce court and coming out with nothing? Their life is being destroyed. Let's have this conversation. I will start that conversation that way. I will ask maybe 3 further more questions, and then I will engage the answers. This is what I think, but what do you think, right? Like that. Now, if you're trying to go viral like Kevin Samuels, you absolutely don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to be absolutely divisive. You want to be extreme. Hey, babe. You want to be extreme. You want to be divisive. You want to be what they call completely, it's a word I'm looking for in marketing, right? You have to be, I'm trying to remember the word, right? But the bottom line is that you have to have extreme ideology, extreme opinion, completely skewed to either the left or the right. You can't be in the middle like myself. You know how they accuse me AMM all the time, right? I'm not popular there because I speak from both sides of the mouth, right? But I'm okay with that. That's my purpose. But if I really want to go viral, I just have to say, fuck all y'all niggas. You're bitching. If I say that a few more times, they will like me. And I do that every now and then strategically. I do it here, right? Just to get their attention, right? And that's how life works. That's how you get people's attention. But once you start talking from both sides of your mouth, you're trying to balance, you're trying to be understanding, you probably will get more out of the conversation in terms of actual purpose, but it will take longer. It's a lot of patience that's involved. But if you come the way you came in that video, you see why it went viral. It was it's like extreme opinion, like extreme opinions that you had in those videos that a lot of men have, never really had a chance to speak out, right? Because again, as soon as they start talking about it, they get shut down because it's not really allowed in this society for men to talk that way, right? But we're going to have this conversation no matter how long it's going to take us, because it's not healthy for men to not feel whole. It's not healthy. No matter how we try to shape it, we can shape it into is masculine, because I do that sometimes. Like, it's masculine to be a little bit more quiet. Well, it's not exactly masculine to die too early. So we're looking for a balance there. A lot of patience. I think it's masculine to be patient, to learn how to leverage time. Sometimes at strategic points, just like I do in AMM, you have to come in and pull them by their balls with gloves, right? And drag them, because we need that as men. We need to be strong. We can't be all be in our emotions when we're expressing ourselves too, because they get dry. If we still want relationship with them, they get dry from that standpoint, and they just won't be able. They won't know why. They just can't. The sexual polarity goes away from that, because then we're competing with them. My second question for you, right? Indian women, Korean women, Chinese women versus African women, right? You had a lot to say in that video about them. I'm guessing you don't have specific numbers. It was basically because of your personal experience at that time. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, specific numbers, if we're talking about diaspora, and that's an interesting...
Diaspora, yes.
Yeah, if we're talking about diaspora, then we're part of the Black American statistics at this point. And if it is true that we're part of the American statistics, then it means that 85% of the marriages failing now in the African community in diaspora, the divorces are being initiated by the women themselves. That's what it means. Yeah. Right. And if that is the case, then it means the women themselves are breaking their own marriages, 85%. On what issues, pretty much, and that would now break down into different variables as the case may be. When I went into the idea of the Chinese women, the Korean women, and all these women, Indian women, as the case may be, I started to look into... I think I was trying to look into the idea of nationality and the nationalistic aspect of how they see other parts of the world. I think that for us Africans, one of the greatest damages we've had is colonialism. So yeah, being under colonial rule has made us to feel.
This is not an 8 years flashback video anymore.
I think that being under I think that being under colonial rule has made us to feel that we have a friend in the West. I wouldn't want to say that the West are our enemies either, though. And so I feel that other cultures have a well-placed impression of the West. And so they have this united, united idea of we're coming into as a team to achieve purpose, but that this is not our land. That's the impression I get from them. I get the impression from them, from the Koreans, the Chinese women, and everybody. There's a strong carriage of their culture. So much so...
They're grounded. They're more grounded in their culture.
So much so that, like in a place like Houston here, when you get into the Chinatown area, you see the traffic signs being written in Chinese. You see the stores and everything,
Every Chinatown.
Yeah, Chinese. It turns into like a Chinatown. And so same with the Indians. You see the Indians are very into the point that I remember they're the only people I've seen that have the guts to wear their native clothes to work. Mm-hmm. Even we Africans don't do that. They wear their native clothes to work. They wear this. So I see this grounding. And I see us wanting to be more like the West. Right.
Now, sorry to interject, whenever I get on panels on YouTube, right, once they hear my accent, right, they say, you're married to an African, right? That's like, yeah. They're like, yeah, that's why, man. You marry somebody that has structure, somebody that has structure and they have the culture and you guys are grounded, so you can't really relate with us. So just so you know, the same thing we're talking about, African American men, they accuse us or edify us for it, right? They say we have culture and they feel like they don't have culture. But now you're saying African women are not grounded in their culture, not as much as Asian women.
Ola, what I'm trying to say, my brother, and I'm saying this is that I would say that with the change, because again, here's another thing that we have to bring in for the education of our viewers, that we are in one of those most unique times in history where we have several generational groups living at the same time.
Yes.
So we'll say we have the baby boomers. Mm-hmm. We can also say we have the millennials. Yes. Then we can also say we have Generation X, or Y, Z, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
So we have all these, and sociologists and psychologists all group these generations with peculiarities. They have these peculiarities, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think that for generations moving forward, all generations moving forward, they're moving away from culture. In fact, in some conditions, they're trying to even point out that they feel that culture is oppressive or repressive in nature.
Right.
They're moving away from culture. So they're saying, you know what, we don't want culture. And again, sometimes, again, that's another part where we've had these heavy clashes where they say certain things about culture which is unsubstantiated by data.
Right.
You know, for example, you hear them saying based on culture, certain people, certain demographics were not allowed to go to school, or certain demographics were not allowed to have a job, or certain demographics were not given the chance to do this or that. And then again, you start wondering, okay, where are they getting the statistics from? Because what I grew up to see wasn't what they claim.
Right.
You know, for example, I grew up, women went to school, women had chances, women drove cars, nobody did the repressive thing in the state I came from.
Well, you grew up in southern part of Nigeria.
I lived in the southeastern part of Nigeria.
Right. I grew up in southern western.
That's right.
I will claim the same experience as yours.
Okay.
But data would tell us otherwise, especially when you go towards the northern part of
Exactly. Exactly. So if you're going towards the north, the data changes as you're moving up to the north, and then strange things begin to happen, in quotes. But however, as the case may be, we had that, people were allowed to go for education. People were allowed to, there was some level of decency. Okay. I'm not saying it was perfect. I would never ever say it was perfect. I would never ever say it could have been improvements. Absolutely. Of course.
Right.
So I think that it's easier in today's society that I see a generation that is moving away from it. But again, the problem for me, and I don't know if I'm a good judge of this, is that I feel that other people